One of the worst sports podcasts in the West, the Prairie Puck Podcast, featuring special guests from Winnipeg Sports Talk Radio, Michael Remus, your regulars, Jake from Peg City Hockey, and the Nolan brothers, Zach and Carter from the Nolan Hockey Podcast, and myself, Coach Ryan D from Hot Garbage Sports. Michael, it is amazing to have you on here. You're somewhat of a Winnipeg legend. I told a couple buddies you were coming on, and they're like, which one from Winnipeg Sports Talk? They were like, I was like, Remus. They're like, the good one, and tell Hustler that.
No,
just kidding. We love Hustler too. Hustler too. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, no problem. He's at the curling trials. So I said I'd hop on this week. Thanks so much for asking me. I've seen all your guys' channels on searching Winnipeg Jets on YouTube. So I appreciate all you asking me. Great to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you.
Thanks for coming on.
We really appreciate it. So first, because we're young YouTube content creators. Well, they're young. I'm old. Tell us, what was it like to get Winnipeg Sports Talk Radio going? Like it was so interesting with TSN leaving Winnipeg and that gap, and you and Hustler were like white knights coming in, I feel, for Winnipeg, filling that void for us. And I almost like the podcast format better than I used to like what was on radio. So can you talk us through that a bit?
Sure. Yeah. Winnipeg's favorite. I appreciate that. You guys all know, first of all, I guess we'll go back to February, found out that the station was going to be no longer. And I was kind of like, you know what? Okay. I had a good run. I was ready to move on. I didn't go to school for, to be in media. So, I was like, okay, I have maybe do something else. And then, I got thinking, and you just saw the outpouring of support, how many people, I guess, listened and was part of their daily life and, didn't have anywhere to turn for, regular daily Winnipeg sports content. And I had been doing stuff on Twitch for, I guess, close to a year at that point, and was pretty familiar with OBS and setting up equipment. And you guys all know that, today in 2021, you can just do whatever you want from your house. You don't need
100%.
You don't need a big thing. Like, you guys all have setups. I was on the floor for a bit in my basement in front of the TV. Now I've got a proper office, studio in here. So I just thought that I had the capability of continuing what we were doing, and people had shown there was still a demand. And I know that our ratings were always good, so it wasn't like no one was listening to the station when it got shut down. So I talked with Hustler, and I was actually ready to go pretty much like the week after. I was like, let's do this. We got to go now. But, we had to get some stuff set up, like a logo and do it. And then, honestly, like the first show, like I had no idea what I was doing. Like I had done stuff before, but nothing like that. So, now we're, I guess, almost 10 months in, and seems to be going pretty well so far. So it's been quite the journey, learning new stuff every day. But yeah, I just think as you guys know, you can just do anything from your house and put it on the internet, and you're able to find an audience.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And you know what? I don't know how everybody else here feels, but it has been a long slog watching Winnipeg Jets games when they're covered under Sportsnet. And, we're not just pumping your tires. There are certain people that when they speak, whether it's radio, podcast, or whatever you're doing, you're gravitated to the presence and how they talk and what they're covering. And there's just such a wide range now between, I really like Bayak over on TSN versus the Sportsnet team versus Paul Edmonds on the radio. You can just see a massive gap. And you two guys, I can't tell you how many people in their mid 30s, early 20s were just heartbroken when you were taken off, and it was like celebration when you were back. So thanks for being here.
Oh wow, that's really nice. Nice to say. I think a lot of it's for Hustler. I'm just along for the ride.
Look at this. I'm a guy that's lived his entire life on the West Coast in Vancouver, coming in the summers to visit family and every once in a while in the winter. And I used to listen to your guys' show on the radio whenever I could on my phone, just trying to make that effort.
Oh, really?
And I live on the West Coast. So I can say that I really appreciate you guys and what you do with the Winnipeg Sports Podcast show. So really, thank you for all the stuff you've been able to do for us Winnipeg fans over the years.
Yeah, thanks. I really appreciate that. Kind of overwhelmed here from you guys. Yeah, but thank you Thanks. I like what you guys are doing as well. I know even when I started out doing stuff on the internet, it was like 2007. Now I'm dating myself here with Illegal Curve. And we kind of start up, and I mean, you guys are doing the same thing. You start up, stay consistent, and keep improving every day, and also enjoy what you're doing for sure. And it's a lot easier to enjoy when you're watching quality hockey. Maybe not the third period last night, but overall, it's been quality hockey, I would say.
All right, so
for sure, minus the first 5 games of the season, I would say.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
that. So we had that horrible start, really good takeoff, and then now we're kind of coming
first
back to that runway.
Okay, let's forget about those.
So I want to throw
the Minnesota game was good, except for the last like 5 minutes or so.
That's very true. That is very true.
That was one of the best games. I don't care if the result obviously sucked, but the game was good.
Absolutely.
We were robbed of an Andrew Kopp game-winning snipe, though. That I will never get over. Like, I had been trashing the guy earlier that day, saying, Andrew Kopp is a passer. Why would he be on a line where he's the shooter? Then he comes down, puts it bar down on Cam Talbot to give the Jets a 2-goal lead. And I'm like, okay, that's the game winner. I'll shut my mouth. We had a perfect road game.
Andrew Kopp puck too, not to mention those memes.
Andrew Kopp puck.
And to celebrate Andrew Kopp, you return his puck.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's what we do.
Yeah, actually, Andrew Kopp was a big topic all summer. People saying he's not a top forward.
I'm guilty as charged. I
top 6. Everyone was kind of he's a stone hands, which may have been some maybe been somewhat reasonable things to say, but I was willing to give him a shot. I mean, I don't know if I saw this type of a breakout season. Now he hasn't scored now actually in 11 games. He does have I think 7 assists in that span, so maybe you're all right when you say he's a passer, but he has shown some real nice hands at times.
Sure.
And good shot, good. But I agree that maybe more of a passer. He's shown some great vision, really looking entering the zone and looking for whoever he's playing on a line with. I guess Scheifele and Ehlers.
Good man in front of the net.
100%. Really good presence in front of the net. That like right in front of the slot area. Good kind of he's almost like a gritty forward because he has that experience from playing with Lowry for so long that he can cut to the front of the net and make those necessary kind of dirty goal type plays. And that's one of the reasons why he's so good in that top 6. But talking about the lines a little bit, I want to ask you, Michael, what are your thoughts so far on the Jets lineups going into this kind of losing streak? We've lost 3 in a row. They've been kind of quality games, even though we've lost 3 in a row. We wouldn't look that way when you look at the losing record. But I got to ask you, what are your thoughts on the overall Jets right now, their lines, ever since Blake Wheeler came back and breaking up that PLD Connor Svetch line? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, overall, you look at the way the season has gone. I mean, it's obviously been a successful start to the season. Now they've dropped back to third, 1 point behind Minnesota, 9-5-4. 4 OT losses. Maybe you'd like to have a couple of those. Let's see, the one against Minnesota, the one against Edmonton in the shootout. You probably like to have in the St. Louis one. So I mean, you're splitting hairs there. So I think all in all, it's been pretty solid. But I kind of agree. I mean, you look at the way that Dubois, Svechnikov, Connor line was going, and they were playing well. They were one of the top lines in the league. I mean, to split them up, try to hammer in Blake Wheeler there, I thought was interesting. Blake Wheeler is the captain. He's shown a lot of history of success in the league, so I really didn't mind. I was looking forward to seeing how it was going. I'll say, as far as the Jets as a whole, I think they may have lost the last couple of games against Vancouver. They lost in the shootout to Edmonton, and they lost yesterday to Pittsburgh. Again, for the majority of the Pittsburgh game, it was good. The third period, that was not ideal. No. But I mean, they're out shooting teams, and I think for the last couple seasons, they were a team that was getting outshot consistently and relying a lot on their goalie. Sure. And this year, or at least starting out this year, the last couple of games, it seems like they're getting goal leads. So, I mean, I think I'd like to just see them stick with what they got going on here for the next game. Let's see what's going on against Columbus. I think you're still generating chances, and as long as the process is good, the results will come eventually. And I said this earlier today to Hustler that people are dumping on the Leafs to start the year, and a lot of people I respect in hockey who are saying, they're doing the right things, it's going to come. And then you saw Nylander and Tavares and Marner and Matthews. The goals came for them, so it's possible we're in a bit of a I don't want to say rough spot of the season. You've lost a couple games, but I do think this road trip here, I think this is going to be, Paul Maurice likes to call a grinder of a road trip. Multiple time zones. You got a back-to-back. You got an afternoon game.
Yes.
So I think tomorrow's game, it's important to get off to a good start because I don't think it gets easier doing the back-to-back. Calgary, who's playing right now and who's been awesome defensively this year. I did not see this coming from Calgary.
Yeah, I don't think anyone did.
After I dumped on them last year for screwing me over and over again in fantasy. But I think it's going to be tough, and I am looking forward to how they come out to tomorrow's game. But I know people after a loss like to get too high, too low. I try to stay pretty even about everything, and I know people like to harp on Blake Wheeler as well. Hasn't scored a goal, but again, I think that they've had a lot of chances. It'll come, but I am interested in what happens when Paul Stastny comes back and how that takes out, because I think that'll maybe shake things up, and maybe we'll see the three balanced lines when he was in the lineup. I thought was working pretty well.
Yeah, I agree. I think all of us unanimously agree on how that was the best version of the Jets offense we've seen so far to start the season with those guys.
And it is nice to see Wheeler hit that 700 franchise point margin. That was nice.
Yes, it was
when he did that. So
yes, it was.
Yeah, he's got another milestone. I think he's closing on 1,000 games pretty soon.
Yeah, let me pull it up real quick.
He's like 5 away.
Yep.
Is he actually 5 away?
I thought it was
that close. Oh boy,
he's
yeah, 6 away. 994.
I rounded.
Yeah, good. Yeah. I mean, I've looked at his career. Following him here. I mean, the number of games that he's been able to play. He doesn't miss games. I mean, yeah, it's incredible. I mean, he's got 80. How many 82 game seasons? 4. He's got an 81. 48 games in the lockout shortened season. 80 games, and like some of the games he's sitting out 79, sitting out like when they had made the playoffs and they sat him the last game of the year.
48 the entire season of that lockout.
Yeah, and
exactly,
he's been and even in Boston he played an 81 and an 82. Incredible consistency, but I think we can all see that there is some wear and tear, and I used to love watching him go down the wing, and he was a big guy. He could skate and had hands, and I think he's at a point where he maybe has to find a way to adjust his game, because he's not that type of player anymore.
100%. I couldn't agree more. My big thing with Blake Wheeler, and I try not to rag on him, even though I do sometimes, quite often I actually, but I think the big thing with Blake Wheeler is that he's still a very skilled player. We know he is. Like, you don't get 46 points in 50 games by being a bum and just being carried by line mates. The big thing I feel like with Blake Wheeler and his success to start this season is a couple of things. One, obviously recovering from COVID, regardless of not we're asymptomatic with the vaccine. It's still something that you have to get over. And the other big thing is I think it's been misusage. Like, we talk about Blake Wheeler jumping into that line with PLD and Kyle Connor, and I really think that he is not a good fit there anymore. Not because he doesn't have a skill set to play there, but because of his speed to his game. Like you were saying, Michael, he's not that same type of player anymore. He doesn't have that speed. He doesn't have that strength. And I really think that a best suited place for Blake Wheeler on this Winnipeg Jets team would be on a third line with Christian Vesalainen and Adam Lowry. I think that could be a very dangerous line, and I think that would be a really good fit for him and his game, and also for Christian Vesalainen trying to blossom into a consistent NHLer. What do you think about that and Blake Wheeler and all that?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm willing to give him a bit of a go, but I think it's certainly valid. Maybe when Paul Stastny comes back, you would put him, Stastny, and Lowry. I'm not sure if there's a lot of speed on that line, though. That would be a bit of a concern. But I don't know. I think he's a passer. I mean, he could be a guy who could sets up Connor. But I think at some point, maybe that is something you look at, putting him down and trying to save those minutes for the playoffs. One thing we haven't talked about special teams. I mean, the power play's on a bit of a rough spell. But I mean, for the last like how many years has he been on the right side of the boards on the power play? Dishing passes. And it seems like, now that Morrissey's got a one-timer and Connor's got a shot, they're on that side, and he's kind of in unfamiliar territory when it comes to the power play, and there is some adjustment there. But I do think we're maybe nitpicking a little. I think the team's going well, and I do think, you look at Blake Wheeler. I know last year I saw all the stuff, he's one of the worst players in the league, but he was injured, and I still can't figure out why they were playing him so many minutes when it was clear the results. That's not the case this year. I still think he's positive on the Corsi 4 percentage. I think it'll come eventually for him, but I do agree. Maybe there is some, they downplaying how sick he was with the virus, and there is some time to recover from it that we're not, we don't know about. So
For sure.
I think that's definitely worth speculating about it as well.
Well, I want to catch on to one thing that you said there, because I love this topic when people talk about speed or how lines get matched together. And you said, hey, that's a line with not a lot of speed. It's interesting from a hockey perspective, because the way I've teach hockey when we're playing it is it's playing with speed 4 up, 5 up. The unit has to move together as a unit, and speed doesn't necessarily mean how the player is skating. So matching players with similar speed levels is actually a very good way to put lines together, because they can keep that unit of 4 or 5 as they move up the ice together. Usually you have one defenseman back, so they call it 4 up now, but you're moving up as a unit, creating those 2-on-1s everywhere you're going. If you have a player that's too fast or too slow for a line, you actually end up getting way too much gap, and the Jets have been notorious for that gap, I think, until maybe about the last 7 or 8 games. They've really turned around their defensive play and their 4 up, 5 up, because that gap is shrunk, and they're able to create those 2-on-1s. So I don't mind the idea of Wheeler playing with some guys that are slower, or having, as I might call it, like a plotting line, because they're not slow. They're just slow compared to Nick Ehlers and Kyle Connor, which, that's not a fair comparison in that sense. But speed needs to play with speed, and talent needs to play with talent. And Wheeler's got a lot of talent, and he can match up with other guys with talent that may not have the speed of those top guys.
For sure.
And Svechnikov can skate.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, I like the idea of having that Wheeler and Lowry duo. And I do think that Wheeler definitely has a lot of the skills that he's shown these past few seasons. And I really think one of the best ways to use Wheeler would be to just reduce his minutes just a little bit, just because he's getting a little bit up there in age. So he's not logging these huge minutes, but really taking advantage of the minutes that he is on and having him with guys like Adam Lowry and Christian Vesalainen. I think that'd be a great fit for him.
Do you guys remember when Gary Lawless ragged on Wheeler when he first came here? So you guys, I don't know if the young boys here get it. I'm sure me and Mike will remember it, but like Lawless, who was the pre-hustler guy.
I remember who Gary Lawless was.
Good old Gary. Well, Gary,
Vegas guy now.
Gary wrote an article about him, and Wheeler, coming from Boston, that he took a long time to develop into the first round talent that he was, and the high first pick. I think he was 1 or 2, wasn't he? He was way
fifth
up there.
overall. Fifth overall by the Phoenix Coyotes.
Unbelievable pick. So he doesn't have a lot of tread on his tires in the first 5-6 years, even though he Ironmanned it in terms of minutes. Then when he changed his game and added that more physical defensive style play, he became that elite guy that we see as a captain today. And it's almost like he has to reinvent again at this point, because he has the brain, he has the passing, he's got the talent, and I think he will. The interesting thing you brought up with Daryl Sutter and the Flames is there's a big difference between Sutter and Maurice. I think when you ask the question, why is he getting played where he's getting played, it's very hard for human beings, especially a coach, to take one of their favorite players that they've been with for 7 years and slam them down to the bottom. There's a human element, unless you're Daryl Sutter, and then you're just going to put whoever is the correct person in the right spot. But there's a reason the LA Kings won the Stanley Cup and locked him out of a locker room. So he's a winner, but he's an ass.
Exactly.
So
for sure, 100% there about that, because Paul Maurice loves Blake Wheeler. There's nothing more obvious about this Winnipeg Jets organization than the relationship that Mark Scheifele, Blake Wheeler, and Paul Maurice have. So that's definitely the biggest element, I feel like, where Blake Wheeler is going to be slotting in the lineup for not even this year, for next year, and for the entire term left on his contract, because it's going to be really hard, I feel like, for this Jets team as a whole to shift their identity away from Blake Wheeler, even though they've already been able to do that, like Michael was saying, on the power play, because you get Joe Mo coming in, he's got more of a shot, he's developed into this kind of actually decent power play specialist in a way, which is something I don't think a lot of us saw coming based off of the last couple of seasons he's had. And he's been really good for us there. And like you said, Kyle Connor's Kyle Connor, and he's becoming more of a dynamic goal scorer than what we saw from even Patrick Laine in his almost rocket winning season as with the Jets when they went to the Western Conference Finals. So we have a lot of interesting, we're an interesting identity right now. We're shifting from this Blake Wheeler, Mark Scheifele dominance to being a more overall complete team with Nikolai Ehlers coming in, a more offensive two-way type of defensive core as well. Because like you were saying, you have Ryan, you've got this gap now where you have these 4 men moving up because you have so many dynamic puck moving defensemen down there. Like Nate Schmidt has been a fantastic addition to this club. Brendan Dillon has, not been the greatest defenseman at times, but has still been a great presence and definitely a big boost on that locker room. You can just tell by the way the defense kind of carries themselves. I couldn't agree more. We're going to be seeing a really big shift with Paul Maurice and the coaching staff slowly over the next 4 years. Blake Wheeler has left on that contract before he's out. I think it's 4 years, 3 years. I can't remember off the top of my head. I always get it confused. But either way, we're going to see a big curve in that usage of him for sure.
Can we talk about one of the bigger problems, though? Special teams. Like, we talked about this, the half of it for power play. Penalty kill is bad, to say the least. We're 31st in the league in penalty kill, which I think puts us at about a 65%, 63%. That is a problem, which is significantly down from last year, where we had not a stellar penalty kill by any margin of effect, but at least it was somewhat competitive.
Yeah, just one thing. I just checked Cap Friendly. Yeah, Blake Wheeler's contract expires in the 2024-2025 season.
Awesome. Thank you there, Carter.
Yeah. No worries. So what are your thoughts on the problems with the Jets penalty kill and possibly, I don't know how they could change it, because it's not working right now.
Yeah, I agree with you that the penalty kill has been, as you said, terrible. Bottom in the league. You thought it was going to be better this year. They brought in a lot of new defensemen, Brendan Dillon, and Nate Schmidt's he's not a penalty killer, but him as well. You thought the team defense would improve. I think 5-on-5 it definitely has. As for the penalty kill, maybe you look at switching up the personnel. I think I saw Kyle Connor on the ice at some point. Do they start bring those guys, bring more skill guys? Do you call up David Gustafson, or is it time to look at some other D aside from what the DeMello Stanley pairing is? It seems to be the one they're using a lot. I'm not really sure what you do. I know a lot of people watch their systems that they use, and they kind of sit back and just let the other team fire away at Hellebuyck and hope that he stops it. But I don't think they're going to, they've been doing this for so long. Wouldn't expect them to drastically change anything. I think you're just looking at personnel, and the easiest one would be to call up David Gustafson. I know a lot of people hopping on the Gus bus from 100% the Moose.
Right here.
He's having a good season down there. I think is he leading them in points?
He is leading them with points.
So
I'll have to check that actually.
And he's been a guy, he's still pretty young. He's drafted 3 years ago, but he's only 21. But you bring him and put him in now. Is that going to change your penalty kill? Like a 21-year-old guy? I'm not sure, but I think it was just a rough couple games, and you hope that it improves. But that's a pretty good question. How do you fix penalty kill? That's among the worst in the league. And maybe you do look at, I would say the easiest one would be look at changing up your personnel.
That's what I really think it is.
So this is my baby, boys, and I'm gonna tell you, you could put you could put anyone into that system, it's gonna fail.
Yeah,
the way he plays it right now, they're using a passive penalty kill that was developed kind of the late 2008 to 2010 era before there. Do you remember, like when we were all kids, dads used to yell box up on a penalty kill? Like that's long dead. That's old 80s. But when you watch the Penguins game, they run an aggressive diamond, meaning they're taking away 3 at the top. So your 2 shooters that are at the top are being taken away, your point man at the top being taken away, and you're playing 2-on-1 down low. Your theory is you're taking pucks away. They're also playing, the other 30 teams in the league are playing very aggressive. And an aggressive penalty kill, you need speed, which is number 1. If you're slow, it's a problem. And you need to have very good hockey IQ to know when you go. And when one guy goes, they all go. So the theory is if the puck goes in the corner and they send 1, you send 1, they send 2. If they send 4, you send 4 and leave the guy open in front of the net. Because if they can pass it through a logjam of 8 players to the front of the net, congratulations, you get the goal. That's the way penalty kills are really run from a tactical position. And all I see is the Jets stacking two guys in what they call an aggressive I. I don't know if you guys notice when they stack on top of each other in the middle of the ice.
Yes.
You're giving up the shooter.
Yes.
That's a problem. You got to take
goal.
it's terrible.
That OEL goal is perfect example of why that is failure. OEL gets his second goal of the season on the power play against Eric Comrie because Eric Comrie has to look through more Winnipeg Jets jerseys than he has to look through Vancouver Canucks jerseys.
Yep.
It's just like you can't be setting it up so that you're giving them all those slot shots and then it's not like we're blocking shots. More often than not, we're just screening our goalie.
Well, because
it's so repetitive.
Well, you're a goalie. I mean, you change that angle just on a minor sense from the middle down to that shooter spot. It doesn't matter how many guys you got stuck there. That goalie, Connor, isn't going to be able to make that push save over and over again, like 5-6 shots per power play. You're asking a lot of a goalie to make 5 or 6 post to post or center to post angle changes to stop guys like Draisaitl or Crosby or anyone in those shooter positions. I mean, you're getting the best of the best. There's no bad player on anyone's power play, even Arizona's. Well, maybe Arizona's.
We do have
maybe.
Ryan, if you want to get technical.
Riley Nash was on the power play unit.
Let me remind you that Andrew Ladd is a consistent NHLer and a top 6 option for that team. Andrew Ladd. Let's leave that there.
Andrew Ladd had some great seasons. Come on.
Yep. No, he did. I'm not trying to bash Andrew Ladd because I love my boy. First captain in franchise history, had some great years for us, but acting like he's still the guy he was after that. I would even say like the moment he signed with the Islanders, downhill. He had the 31-point season that year, playing almost a full year, 78 games. The year after that, 29 points. Then after that, he only played 26 games, and other than that, it's been the AHL for more games than the NHL the last 5 years.
Yep.
So it's been a rough span for him. I'm glad to see him find a home again, but he's definitely not the same guy he used to be in Winnipeg, 35 years old, and the way he's been going.
Well, can we talk positivity though? Because I think Remus brought it up like 20 minutes ago. Which was, I think the Jets are playing, it's a hot take, but I think the Jets are playing the best hockey they've played in 3 years right now, even though we're losing.
Totally agree.
For sure. Their 5-on-5 team defense is the best I have seen up and down their roster. Paul Maurice has changed the system. It's completely different. They're boxing teams out. Other than the third period against the Penguins, the shot count is very low. These are very low percentage scoring chances in the last 7 games. It is way easier to expect that Scheifele and Wheeler will eventually start scoring again and everybody will pick it up than it is to get an entire team to commit to a defensive zone structure. So the Jets for years, I think we're winning the race to 5, as I like to call it, and praying to the god Connor Hellebuck to stop 40 shots. And I don't see that happening now. So I think the goals will come. I don't have a lot of hope for the penalty kill, but he's got a great strategy to fix his penalty kill, and that's not to take penalties. I haven't seen the Jets do this in a long time. They've
never not done it. It's been their identity since coming back has been penalties. Always has been.
In the last 7 games, I don't know, you seeing the same thing, Remus? I'm not seeing a lot of bad penalties, or it's like a new team.
Yeah, I think there was the Wheeler one in Vancouver, maybe, but I think people are saying stop taking stupid penalties about the Jets, and then I went and I looked on NHL.com, and they'll give you the penalties, and I believe they had they were 10 away from the least amount in the league. So yeah, they've done a great job staying out of the box, and that would stop a penalty kill. But I mean, you talk about the way they're playing 5-on-5. I'm looking at my favorite site, Natural Stat Trick, as far as Corsi for percentage. Jets seventh in the league, and that just hasn't been the case the last couple of years. And I forget what year it was it the 2019 season where they were winning games, they were going, but you're like, this isn't going to last. They're getting outshot night after night. Yep. And as you said, first time in a couple of years, they're the one that's generating the chances. And when you keep having the right process, at 5-on-5, outplaying your opponent or outshooting them, getting more chances, I think in the long term, you're going to have success. And look, there's going to be peaks and valleys of a season. I'm not saying this is a valley, but we can agree this 3-game stretch, not a peak in terms of the results. Sure. But I think the process is, although I thought they were going to lose that Vancouver game, but I mean, they showed up, and Thatcher Demko kind of stole the show, which was Tristan Jarry yesterday, Stuart Skinner. I don't know. They got to find a way to stop making these goalies look good. I'm guessing we'll see Merzlikins tomorrow night. Korpisalo got the start yesterday, but I think that tomorrow's a good chance to hit the reset. You're on the road and start off with a win and keep moving forward. But I know we can. And again, it's fun to like nitpick. Oh, they're doing this, poorly, or we don't like this about the lines. But I mean, I think we can all agree that this is a good hockey team, and
for sure
they're in position for the playoffs. 9-5-4. I mean, in a pretty good spot right now in the Central Division.
Well, that's a funny thing about the playoffs, though. It doesn't matter once you get in because the way the seeding and the divisions work, it's brutal to get out. We're going to have 2 very hard rounds, regardless of our placement, 1st through 4. And there's no way I believe we're going to get goalied 7 games in a row by these teams where, a Gibson or a Demko or even, who was that with Edmonton? Skinner? Just stood on it. Yeah, just stood. That's not going to happen 7 times in a row, but I do believe Connor Hellebuck and the way the Jets are playing right now will win series, keeping teams under 30 shots with, one of the best goalies in the NHL in the net.
For sure. I agree. I really do agree. It's been such a refreshing, season so far to watch the Jets because, like you were saying, Michael and Ryan, that like every area that we've seen the Jets struggle in the last couple of years, especially since the defense kind of got cleaned out a couple of years back in that free agency where everyone left and was traded with the Trouba situation, we kind of have seen every hole that was on this team kind of been filled in a way by either changing a system or bringing in new personnel. And for one, I love it. And I knew Nate Schmidt was going to have a bounce back year. And I think him and Evgeny Svechnikov are candidates for my favorite Jets of the year. And it's very early, but they've been fantastic and great additions to the locker room, to the ice, and everything else about this club. And I just can't be more happy as a fan that's been with us since the first game against that Habs to where we are now. And I love seeing this team succeed. It's been great. Can't wait for the rest of the 81.
Love the Svechnikov mic'd up thing. Absolutely love that.
That was beautiful.
That was hilarious. I loved every second of it.
Did you guys see the TikTok of Svechnikov as well? I think it was against the Oiler game. I think where there's this guy sitting. Svech was in the penalty box, and there was a fan eating a hot dog, and he just put the camera over like this to Svech in the box, and Svech looked right at the camera and was like all over it, trying to like get a bite of his dog and everything like that. It was hilarious. I gotta find a clip of that, but it was incredible. He's just such a character, and for a league minimum deal, how good he's been for us, regardless of where he is in the lineup, like that's one of the best signings in free agency as a whole, in my opinion.
One of the rare Steve Yzerman L's. One of the very rare Steve Yzerman L's.
I don't get that move, why they passed on him, but I don't care because as long as he came to Winnipeg.
We were talking about
I was fine with that.
I was gonna say we're talking about that all summer, like how why didn't they keep him, the Red Wings? And you're like, if Yzerman doesn't want a guy, you're like, well, what's wrong with him? But it seems like he's a solid player, former 1st round pick. You mentioned something as well earlier about how they've kind of filled all the holes, and I agree. Nate Schmidt. They need an offensive defenseman. He comes in. He's leading the league in stretch passes. You saw him. He's got a great shot from the point. You need some toughness after you lost Sherrod. Brandon Dillon comes in, and he's hitting everything among the league leaders in hits.
Insane.
And you didn't have a second center who can play tough and physical. Dubois, we haven't even mentioned him. He's taken his game to another level. So I agree. There's a lot of the holes that were missing last year have been filled, but also the players are performing.
For sure. I was actually just about to bring that up because tomorrow's game is a very, very special game for Pierre-Luc Dubois because it is the Pierre-Luc Dubois-Patrick Laine matchup for the first time since the trade, since we had that North Division deal. We didn't play anyone last year in America. So I am very excited to see how that's going to look. I would love to see Laine get a couple goals against the Jets, and I would love to see Dubois get a couple goals against
Dubois hat trick.
What do you guys think about that tomorrow? Are we going to see some special performances? Is Laine even going to play because of that recent news about his father passing away? So Patrick Laine, condolences to you and your loss. I can't imagine what you're going through, but does anyone have any information on that? I don't know if he'd even be playing tomorrow.
I think he's injured, so he's still out with that.
Is he still out with the injury?
Sprain.
Okay, yeah. I wasn't sure if he was coming back or not, and then that screwed up the timing with everything because I can only imagine. But that's too bad. Then we're gonna have to wait longer.
You get Roslovic.
Oh, the Roslovic return.
Yeah. The only winner of that trade off the bat was Roslovic, so.
Yeah.
Has anyone else ever
Sorry, you go ahead.
Is anyone else ever surprised that Patrick Laine at his size it feels like he's injured quite a lot for a big boy? Like it really does. In the last couple of years,
he got that injury like in the playoffs.
Am I wrong? Am I just making this up in my head?
I think you're wrong, but you might not be. I'm going to pull up his games played.
I think it's more frequent these days than it used to be.
I'm willing to be wrong on this one, but it feels like he's missed quite a bit.
Need a quick refresher. Last year, it was a 56-game season, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was? Okay, so last year, Patrick Laine played 45 games. And his last year in Winnipeg, he only played 68 games, and that was 2019-20. But that was also because of the COVID season. He got
injured at the beginning of that season where he played one game.
But then before that, he played both back-to-back full 82.
Okay, yeah. I'm making it up.
I remember he had the injury. He had the Jake McCabe hit.
In
Buffalo.
Oh, I remember that like it was yesterday.
Yeah,
that was a big crunch.
Yeah, but I don't think. Yeah, I don't know. He played the one game with the Jets, and then I guess he said he was hurt at the start of the season.
We'll never know.
You know what? That's what it was, Remus. That feeling in the back. That nasty feeling of like I'm hurt after his 3-game thing, and then you just never.
Oh, that was
saw him
sorry.
again.
That was last year. Okay.
Yeah. That's what's.
It's weird thinking that Patrick Laine played a game last year with the Jets. Yeah. I keep forgetting that too, and not to mention the fact that he had 3 points. He had 3 points in one game as a Jet, 2 goals, 1 assist with 3 points.
Best ever point per game as a Winnipeg Jet.
Seriously. At least he went out on top, I like to say. But it'll be a fun matchup tomorrow against Columbus. They've been a weird team. They're in this weird bubble where they're kind of rebuilding, kind of not, kind of retooling, but we'll see how we play tomorrow. I think tomorrow is Columbus is kind of the perfect matchup if you're the Jets, like, coming off of this hard road trip. You've had 3 games you've lost that you easily could have won. The shootout loss, a game where you lost barely to Vancouver, where you outplayed them for most of that game. And then you have that game against Pittsburgh last night where obviously we're not going to talk about that third period, but you still had a pretty good first period performance where you had the lead. So I think that a team like Columbus tomorrow is a pretty good matchup because Columbus also has not been the greatest to start this year. I think it's a good kind of, rebound for the Jets coming off those 3 losses.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the Columbus lineup here, and you're kind of like, who are some of these guys?
Yeah, right.
I played a guy on DraftKings yesterday named Igor Chinnikov. Never even heard of the guy. He's on the second line according to Daily Faceoff with Sillinger and Voracek. I guess they got, but and then
Igor?
That was the guy who they drafted in the first round. I remember this, and then they went to the panel. They're like, "We have no idea who he is. We don't have a clue."
You're right. 21st pick in the 2020 draft. Yeah,
and no one knew who he was. Like the whole panel just went, "Who is he? Like he's some Russian."
Okay. Oh my God. He had. Yeah, he literally. I'm looking at his stats right now, and he played in the Russia U20 league. He only ped 5 games. Then he played for 1 goal, and then he played. He played for Avangard Omsk. I don't know what league that is. Omsky Yastreby. Oh, Jesus. I'm not even going to try this other team he played with when he was drafted. But very, very interesting player.
The hockey embodiment of the dark web is what he played on.
This is how it works, though, team. Like, this is why you don't pick players based on stat lines, right? I mean, if it was as easy as stat lines, we would go for it. And I believe in advanced stats, but you need the blend because somebody went to these unknown reaches of the universe. We're talking about Somme and clearly saw something.
Went there.
I mean, there are 382 players in the CHL right now that are amazing players, and they passed it up for this guy. It seems to be working out.
Well, I will give him credit where credit is due. When he was drafted in 2020, so in 2019-20 for Omiski Yastreby, I probably butchered that, so excuse my Russian. I'm not going to, whatever, either way. 56 games played, 27 goals, 42 assists for 69 points with a plus minus of 32 and only 16 penalty minutes. That was the year he got drafted, I believe. So even though I don't know what league that is because NHL is not telling me the league that this is, just the team name, that's not a bad stat margin to be a first round pick.
If the NHL isn't telling you what it is, it's probably the KHL.
I would assume
say that right now because the NHL treats the KHL like it's a different, like it doesn't exist. It just says he got 69 points. Where? Nowhere.
You never know.
He just got him.
The Saskatchewan Men's League.
Yeah. Source, trust me, bro.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Eastern
Michael,
European place.
Michael, have you been following the Winnipeg Ice and their little dominant run here in the Western League?
I mean, just from afar, I don't know if you guys, if you've been out to a game, I still need to go, but I mean, I know that they're on this huge win streak. They're in first. I mean, they got a number where they have Connor McLennan. I saw they got Geeky. I know they've got a lot of draft eligible guys, or even guys who've been drafted. Yeah. Lambo as well. So it's pretty exciting. And first place seemed to be dominating everyone. I know they had some ridiculous goal differential. And you look at their players; they've got a lot of guys over point per game. But it's not as on TV as much as the NHL is. So I can't say I've followed it too closely, but just from afar. And I am impressed, and I would like to get out to a game at some point. That's on my to-do list this season for sure.
Well, I hope we get to see out at one because they have 4 first-round NHL picks on that team. So Savoy is likely going to go number 2 next year. He's going to go next to Shane Wright. And, there's some argument to say that Savoy should have been given exceptional status like Wright. But what was interesting about Matthew is very much like Nolan Patrick, the other big Winnipegger that went number 2. He played at 15 because he can play like 20 games at 15 as an underager. And he got blown up and he had a nasty concussion at 15 that took him till now to really shake off at this point, but he's having a career year. And then you've got Geeky and McLennan who are both right there. Like Geeky might go 5, like same draft. It's like the Alabama football team here. They're just stacked.
Yeah, they really are.
Carson Lambos, I really believe he fell way too far. I would have taken him if I was the Jets over our pick, which was what was it? Chaz Michael.
They really like that American developmental system though. So he's one of the big things for them. So
he's going to be a good player, but I got to tell you guys, like Lambos is a top 5. He's going to make him pay for it. He's going to
play against Lambos.
He is going to terrorize us on Minnesota.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I played minor hocky against him. He played for South Winnipeg. So
I did not know that actually, Carter. That's dope. You probably told me that in passing conversation. I forgot. But
no, I told you which NHL.
That was that point where he was good, but then I remember like a few years later, I went and I looked at the AAA stats. I'm like, holy crap, what the hell happened to this guy?
So I've known Carson since he was 12, and I got to coach him for a couple years there. And at 12 years old, Carson had a heavier slap shot than anyone you'd see in a men's league. Period. Like hard stop. The guy was putting up as a defenseman in Pee Wee. He was playing up at Bantam, putting up 5-6 points a game, 4 of them goals. Like he still is one of the best releases he will have one of the best shots in the NHL. Like he really is going to remind me of a PK Subban style guy. He's a left-handed shot, so he'll be on that right hand of the power play and just hammering one-timers. But it's not even his clapper that's so dangerous. It's his skating and his snapshot. So it'll be cool. I hope you and Hustler cover. I think they're gonna have a strong Mem Cup run. I think it's all but written in the stars. They're winning the dub, and then a little bit of luck to win a Mem Cup, to be honest, in 1-game tournaments.
I just saw the Memorial Cup actually. I was at the Western Hockey Card Expo in Langley, and it was in the Giants Arena, and on their ice sheet they covered it up with lacrosse for the weekend, and they had it there. So actually, that's funny to bring that up. But yeah, I think so too.
You guys went and watched the game. What'd you think?
We actually didn't end up going. I've watched highlights and I've seen it, but I ended up getting way too busy with family, Ryan. I thought a week was enough when I came out to Winnipeg after 4 years to see everything, and I thought it was, and it wasn't, and I couldn't end up going. But I'm probably gonna go watch them when they come out to Vancouver to play the Giants. I think they come out at least once, hopefully. So I'll go try to catch that game. I'll be the one Ice fan in a crowd of Giants fans.
Yeah, I mean, we try to touch on them, just in the back of the mind. I know on Friday we'll have Brian Munns, who's the play-by-play voice, give us an update. But it's definitely something awesome. We'll be following, as the season goes. Hard not to notice when you see these the scores.
Yeah,
I know, their games and the W's and the win column over and over again. So
just insane, 19-1, incredible start to the season. So
that's my pro. NHL
exactly
stats right there. Yeah. Play every game.
Yeah, I want to know how they lost the one. What did they do?
I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it was close too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well,
my favorite stat is the goal differential, 106-4-36 against
Jesus.
in 20 games. That's the best.
Oh my god. Who are the lead point producers on this team so far?
All of them.
Holy crap. So you have Peyton Krebs has got 13 goals and 30 assists for 43 points. in
Former,
24
hold on,
games.
let's count it. Former first round NHL draft
That's-
pick.
Yeah, that's last. I think that's last year's point. This when you go to their
you're right,
site,
you're right.
it defaults to last year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you,
I was like,
I
what?
just
How
have
many
caught
games have
that.
they played? How many games have they played?
20.
20 games played.
106 divided by 20. That gives us a 5.3 goals for. And how many was against? 36?
Yeah.
Yeah.
so-
Divided by
yeah.
20. So they're basically winning every game 5-1 or 5-2 is pretty much what it is.
That sounds about right too.
Honestly, that's a rough road game right there. Go into the cold depths of Winnipeg and then get murdered 5-1. Oy.
In 20
Well-
games played, they've got 4 goal scorers over 10 or more in double digits, and 2 of them with 15 goals in Milne and McLennan. That's
Wow,
like
eh?
insane. It's
That's
just
terrifying.
incredible. It really is. I cannot wait to watch the Memorial Cup that they're
How
going to
many
be going
games,
on.
how many games do they play in a season?
That's a good question. I actually don't know off the top of my head.
It's either 60
Who's hosting it this year as well?
The Memorial Cup. I'll look that up real quickly, but I have no
Please do.
idea.
So it's either 68 or 72 games. It's one of those two numbers.
Oh god, you're gonna have a lot of goals by the end of that. Jesus.
Well, do
The,
you remember?
the answer-
Do you remember Remus when what was it? Josh Morrissey played 200 games in a season between the Dub, the A, Team Canada. Do you remember that one?
That was a while ago, but
Yeah.
that number is fairly ridiculous. I see that.
He was a beast.
Oy.
Could it be that many? I guess he played.
It didn't hit the 200, but it was the high 100s. Like it was ridiculous between playoffs, regular season, the AHL, the NHL, and I think he played a stint with like international or something at some point too. Like
He
it was
definitely
just,
played for the World Junior team. I'm very sure.
it was stupid. He just
By
didn't
the way-
stop playing.
Guys, to answer the question, the St. John Sea Dogs are hosting the Memorial Cup this year.
Awful.
Of the QMGHL, exactly.
That's
Awful indeed.
awful.
Give
You
it to
gotta go to-
Winnipeg.
You got to go to the Rock to play. That's tough.
Oy.
But at least it'll be entertaining when they get to that point.
For all the people at the Rock.
Yep.
So,
Well-
take it away, Ryan.
I was just going to say the last point of the Mem Cup, there is a little bit of luck in short-term tournament. It's not a 7-game series, right? It's
Yes.
it's just like, Team Canada and the Olympics. It's one game and it can be over.
Which makes it even more fun sometimes, the
Yeah.
playoffs, I gotta say. I love that. I love that football type of aesthetic.
Yeah.
Speak for yourself. Did you play minor hockey growing up? That stuff was
I did.
terrifying.
And I loved it.
That
I loved
stuff was-
round robins and then one game
Oh,
eliminations.
no,
I
no.
loved it.
There was no round robins. There was straight to bracket, A side, B side. That's how it went. And then I
A-side,
get all the
B-side
way there
stuff.
just to lose to St. Boniface. Every goddamn year. Every goddamn year.
Remus, did you grow up playing
Lost
too?
to them in the finals, man.
Yeah. Not as good as you guys. It sounds like, but yeah, I still play. I
can barely skate, my friend, so don't worry.
No, I can skate. I just can't do everything else. I grew up playing. I play Highlander here. What are my?
Oh, Cameron?
Yeah, I play Cameron.
Oh, sick.
We're C division.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
good.
what team
Playing that.
have I played against you?
So I've played for Strange Brew and
Okay,
participants.
we've played them. I'm pretty sure I played against them.
Recently?
I'll check. I'm on Blue Duck.
If it's recently, then you might have had a win against me, and I only say that because I've only won one game with those guys.
That name.
The core is aging. That's the problem. Like,
the core is
What core is
aging.
aging?
What
Core is
core?
aided for beer league, eh?
I think
that's the
from 45 to
That's the
52.
point. I think that's the point of a beer league, my friend. But
If you're
Core is aging.
Zach is the only player that aged out of the Highlander League and had to move into the Central Hockey League, and then
The core is aging, says a 21-year-old beer league.
oh my god, he's the young boy
Oh
coming
my
out.
Holy.
No, we haven't played them this year, but maybe
Okay.
that name. I've definitely seen that name before. Or it could just be I know the movie and it sounds familiar. I'm not sure. Give me one of those.
That'll be the beer league matchup of the century for Winnipeg. Michael versus Zach. We'll have to get some coverage out there to film it.
He's going to beat me. Like, my team plays terrible in the third. That's not even like an opinion. We got outshot 15-4 the other night in the third period and wondered why we lost a 2-goal lead. I was like, I don't know.
Because you let in 2 more goals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're the goalie. You should know how it works.
Oh, yeah. Big words from a coach over there. Uh-huh. Very easy to draw that one up, right, Ryan?
Shoot, beer league. There's no coaching. I am
no
just.
coaching.
Let
There's
me
no
tell you
defense.
this. Regardless of
player
beer
coach.
league division, A division, all the way down to Z division, my contribution to the team is the same. Up, down, dump, change. Doesn't matter. Same contribution.
Buddy, I could use a bit of that, honestly. The amount of times they just dump it to center ice and you're just like, okay.
Play in the
Next
wing.
turn.
Don't break
Next
your stick.
wave.
So, Carter, do you want to take us into the Bombers?
I would love it. I was just about to throw us there to end it off in that direction.
So I'm excited. I don't know. Now, first, actually, before we go into the Bombers, I actually want to talk about the semifinal game between Saskatchewan and Calgary and who we think the Bombers are going to be facing. I am curious what you think about that, Michael. Who do you think they're going to be facing?
I'm going with Calgary. I don't think Saskatchewan's that great. I don't know how they have a 9-4 record. I don't think Fajardo. I don't think he can throw it deep. Again, you look at the point differential; it's about even. So I know some of those are maybe because of blows from the Bombers, but they haven't been the same team since the Bombers took 2. So I know it's in Regina. Maybe they get an edge. I think the spread was pretty close. So, but I'm leading Calgary, even though I don't like Calgary. I don't think they're that great.
Yeah,
I think
Jake hates Calgary. Was it right?
they're playing better. Sorry, what did you say?
Yeah. No, I think it was Jake. Jake, was it you that said that you absolutely hated the Stampeders?
I do. As a guy that's grown up watching them shit kick the Lions my entire life, I do not like the Stampeders. But I gotta agree with Michael there. I think both of these teams is a crapshoot. I have no idea who's going to win, and frankly, I don't think both of these teams are very good to begin with. And I think that either way, the Bombers are going to be right. Either team's going to be right for the picking when the Bombers play them. And I don't think it's going to be very close when that happens.
Yeah,
but, I think I also agree with Michael. I think Calgary will edge them out. I don't think they're the better team, but I just think that that their quarterback matchup is in favor in Calgary. So that's basically what sums it up for me.
Yep. That, and then as well, they finally have Begelton back in the lineup, and he had some really good games for them. And then I also noticed that Calgary, through the course of the season, has really just kind of gotten better and better and better for the most part. It was very good to see, though, even in this last game, where both the Bombers and the Stamps both started their starting QBs, pulled them out after halftime. It was very nice to see, though, that Bo Levi Mitchell didn't really figure out the Bomber defense, even when it wasn't at its full strength, which I think is a very good thing. As I think it's most likely that we will be playing them, just because I find that with Saskatchewan, the biggest question mark for them is the defense, in the sense of their defense is either on or it just isn't. And there's no real in between, I've noticed, for them, at least this season. And with Calgary getting better and better and better, I think Calgary's had a better record against Saskatchewan. They played 3 games against each other. Calgary's won 2 of them. And the one that Saskatchewan won, they barely kind of sneaked out of that one. So I think the Stampeders will win it against Saskatchewan. I think we'll be playing them. And the interesting thing is we're projected to have Andrew Harris back. And then obviously the rumors regarding the just released Chris Streveler from the Arizona Cardinals. Does he sign back with the Bombers? Yes, please sign back here.
So.
We would love to have you. Like, he got that NFL money. He can come back for cheap and win another cup. Come on. So I'd love to see him back, as I think he's definitely a better backup option than McGuire. We gave him a game. He's still young. He'll get better as time goes on, but he wasn't exactly anything phenomenal. There was signs that he could do decent, but he's not consistent enough if Caleros gets injured to really go through with that. And I hope, and we are supposed to have Harris back. I hope he's back. But honestly, even if he isn't back, I don't think it's that big of a deal with how great Augustine did and how great Oliveira has done. So I'm not really concerned at all in the running department for Winnipeg. So.
Yeah, same. I'm not concerned about Winnipeg as a whole, really. Like, if Caleros goes down, that's the only thing, knock on wood, everything, pray to the devil and every other thing in between that doesn't happen. But
for sure.
I think that other than Caleros going down, this team is pretty solid everywhere with the depth. Like, you look at their depth chart, and it's one of the deepest CFL lineups they've had in a long time for the entire league, I think. Yeah. And it's very impressive what they've been able to accomplish.
Yep. I believe it's our first time hosting the Western Final since 1972. I believe.
I did not know that. Wow.
It's been a long time since we have hosted. Yeah, I don't know that they have. There is no reason that the Bombers cannot win a Grey Cup this year. There is no excuse. They have absolutely everything there, especially the defense.
Get it done. Let's throw it to the East real. Yeah, for sure. The defense. Yeah. Let's throw it over to the East real quick and talk about the East, the Eastern side of that semifinals matchup against Montreal and Hamilton. How are we feeling on that side?
That is a bit of an interesting one because Montreal had just lost to the Red Blacks. So I mean, how does Montreal feel? Because I mean, they had Vernon Adams go down, so they brought in Trevor Harris, and he looked pretty good. He came out great, but he had that really weak second half where he let Ottawa pretty much, like, Ottawa kind of ran over their defense for a bit, threw a pick or two. And I mean, in the fourth quarter, with, I think it was 11 seconds left in the game, Ottawa, because they have nothing to lose, decides to go for two. And that's the difference between them winning and losing. They didn't want to go to overtime. So they won at the end of the game there. So I don't know, like, that one I think will be I think the game between Hamilton and Montreal will be a closer game than the game between Saskatchewan and Calgary, to be honest. Just because I think that Calgary is consistently been getting better and better and better, and Saskatchewan is the one unpredictable. So I think that game is either a close Calgary win or a not close Calgary win. I don't think there's a scenario where Saskatchewan wins that. And then in this one, I think Hamilton wins this just because they have had less changes. They've had less changes to their lineup. So they've basically been able to add on, like, just keep adding on with, because when you bring a new QB into the system, you have to go through all the different plays and whatnot and fit them in there. It takes time. You can't, it's not like hockey where you can kind of just throw them in there and then, work out some of the systems afterwards. It's, with football, it's big difference when it comes to all the playbook and whatnot. And I don't think that even though Harris has done well, I don't think that Montreal has as big of a playbook as they would like going into this Eastern semifinal. So at least that's my take on it. So love to know your guys' opinions.
Couldn't agree more. I think that Hamilton is going to be the team personally.
Okay, hold on. Am I the only old guy here sitting in this room going, did you just say Saskatchewan, the team that has fed the CFL for 20 years and starting quarterbacks? Every quarterback that plays for Saskatchewan is a god somewhere else, has won more Grey Cups than I can count, and just seems to find a way to fluke, has no chance? You might be right, but, like, it's Saskatchewan. I'm really nervous. I'm always nervous about Saskatchewan.
I guess I
would be, but I think that they've had a pretty inconsistent season, and like Michael was saying, after we spanked them in those back-to-back games, they haven't been the same team.
And start of the season Saskatchewan and end of the season Saskatchewan has not been the same. Like, I mean, like, especially, like, you look at the Bombers when they take out their starting QB, or at least when he's playing reduced minutes in a game. Even though they're not very good, they're still half decent. I mean, when you took Fajardo out, they only got 3 points in that entire game, and they really got nothing against Hamilton. So I don't know, especially because if Fajardo goes down, or that's game over. Their backup is I don't think he's good enough to really go against Calgary. I'll rephrase what I said earlier. I don't think they have no chance. I just think that I think that at the very bare minimum, Calgary has a 60% chance of winning. Bare minimum, 60. I'd say more closer in the 70% range. So
So Michael, where do you guys sit on the on your show here? Is this Bomber dominance or should we be worried?
Well, no.
I don't think anyone could be worried.
You talk about how all those teams aren't that good just compared to the Bombers. Like the Bombers are up here, and everyone else is a notch below. There's a big gap. So, hopefully, you hope that it goes the way you think it's gonna go against, whoever, Calgary or Saskatchewan. But I think Bombers are pretty heavy favorites right now. I mean, defense, very, very elite. Bring in Zach, huge move. They've got all these receivers, and I agree, running back. I mean, if Harris isn't in, it seems pretty clear. Augustine, very solid. Oliveira as well. So, I mean, they're a complete team, and the funniest part is trying to pick who the best player on defense is, because I think they've got 4 or 5 guys who are the best at their position in the league.
Exactly.
Hardrick, Jefferson, Big Hill.
Big Hill. They got a couple guys. Alexander, I think, is up there as well.
Ford is doing great in his first season.
Yeah, and they got all the rookie DBs, so they're in a good spot. The East, I don't know, that Hamilton, they've been a big disappointment this year. I think the defense has been good, but I don't know where Brandon Banks has been. Montreal, I've been kind of out on them since they lost Vernon Adams. I mean, Trevor Harris is okay.
Jalen Acklin has done better than Brandon Banks.
Yeah, and they got all those other guys. Dunbar, I played a lot of him in fantasy.
Dunbar, yes.
And Tim White as well. I used to love Brandon Banks. I don't know where he's been, but I think Montreal's defense is a bit suspect. But Hamilton's disappointed me all season, so it's possible. Yeah, it's possible that they disappoint again.
I think we're gonna see. My prediction for the East is I think Hamilton will beat Montreal and then lose to Toronto, and I think we'll see a Winnipeg-Toronto Grey Cup game.
I can see that.
Yeah, which will obviously be disappointing because for the Hamilton fans as they are hosting the Grey Cup.
About to say that, yeah.
But sorry, Hamilton, I don't think you'll get back here.
Get a better
quarterback.
quarterback.
You can't have nice things.
You're also just Hamilton.
Hamilton needs an AHL team back.
They don't have one?
They don't.
No, they used to have the Hamilton Bulldogs, but then Bulldogs became an OHL team. So,
I did not.
A decent-sized city not to have an AHL team.
They should have an NHL team, in my opinion.
Did you guys hear?
I agree, Ryan. I agree.
Some of the
Stack
results
the Canadian market
of that Gary Bettman with Quebec meeting. Did you guys hear about any of that? Any of the stuff that came out of?
Apparently, it was a nothing meeting. Apparently, the league. What I heard is that the league kind of already made up their mind going into it that it wasn't going to happen. But I don't know how true that is.
I just found it interesting at some of the things that Quebec was willing to do. Like they were talking about the government stepping up and trying to buy a team. They were talking about having a ton of a joint ownership, or not just having one big billionaire franchise owning it, but actually having a ton of owners all collectively pitching in. I don't know. I thought it was interesting.
To bend over backwards. It's just the thing is NHL's not moving. That's
well. The thing is that the only way Quebec gets a team is if it's relocation, and there's no other option.
And it has to be an Eastern team relocating. It cannot be a Western team relocating.
Detroit moved to the East, not to move back to the West. Which is why I think if Arizona moves at the end of the season, Houston is where they're going to go.
I think Houston's the next destination for an NHL team. It makes sense. They have an NHL. They have a tie with the history. Market, for sure. And
it's in the exact same division. It literally could not be more perfect for them, which is why.
And they already have an arena ready to go.
Exactly. And I am just praying that what happens is Arizona loses a ton of money. They can't find any sort of deal. They have to move, and they want the extra cash, so they're willing to sell the Jets' rights back to us for the NHL part of the Jets. We have the WHA stuff, but I'd love to have our old NHL stuff, so we can finally use that 90s logo on one of our jerseys, because we can't.
One day soon, hopefully. One day soon.
So moving teams is conspiracy theory, but with the jersey collection behind Michael there, we asked at the beginning the thoughts on the Canada reveal, and you said one 4-letter word starting with an F.
Oh yeah, I said they're fine.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're fine. I said, I'm not They look like a jersey. I have no issue with that.
They look like a jersey.
Yeah, it's
High praise for Michael.
They're fine.
Reminded me of that. At least the black one reminded me of that Carolina alternate with the hurricane warning flag with the dark gray.
No, it didn't. Don't say that. It reminds you of that shitty
Yes, it
Western,
does.
the outdoor game that Chicago Blackhawks played like 10 years ago or whatever. That all black one with the white logo. That's exactly what it is. It's a rip of that. Almost identical, except they swapped logos, and it's a horrible logo.
It's
It's like the aviator jersey on crack, man. Like that's what happens to you if you're the aviator jersey and you go down Main Street for a couple of years. That's what happens to you. Like, it's not good.
Shapes with a fucking flag is what happened. They're like, oh, how can we make a flag and just a leaf trendy? I know. Let's make a bunch of like parallelograms and throw them in there. That'll look good, right? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I guess I could say like it's fine, but that's not a high bar of praise at the end of the day.
Well, I'm sorry. I think everyone's just like saying how terrible they are, and I don't think that they're terrible at all. But I don't know if they're amazing, but they're good jerseys.
On an A to F grade,
I think we've had worse.
On an A to F grade, what is
I think it's
the grade of this jersey? On an
B?
A to F.
C or a B?
And C plus, maybe?
The 2006 ones are an F for me, and the A. I think the 2010s, everyone would agree, are an A.
Best one,
Yes,
A plus.
those are great. Why do you need to change it?
I
Because
like
we
the
ain't
2002.
money.
I like the 2002 ones actually. I wish after
yes.
that I was like, why did
Yeah.
they go to these crappy 2006 jerseys? So
Do you guys know
these are
why?
better than the last ones were terrible. 2018, those were the worst. So these are an upgrade from that.
Why did the Olympics ban the Hockey Canada logo?
You can't have like corporate logos.
That's
Those are
not corporate. That's
It
Yeah,
is so,
It
unfortunately.
just feels common sense. That's the thing. Maybe because hockey is so much of a corporation in Canada, but it just felt like, yeah, it's just us. It is the way it is.
You know
Honestly,
what I love?
it makes me curious to see what the other countries though. Because so far,
Yeah.
what we've seen Finland
Mhm.
and now Canada.
You know what I love about Hockey Canada though in our
Yeah, you're
jerseys?
What's that?
I love the fact that we're the bad guys. Nobody's cheering for us outside of us. I mean, we wear black jerseys for Pete's sakes. Like we are the empire in this movie,
Yes, we are.
and I love it.
We always lie to ourselves every
We're the
time the World
Imperial
Junior
March.
comes
That's what
along.
we're going to come out to.
Absolutely.
Like every time the World Junior comes along, we're just like, oh yeah, maybe we'll do it this year, and we've got like 20 gold medals in the background hanging up. We're like, I wonder if this is our year, and it's like, it is
Okay.
always your year. Canada has had a 6-year winning streak one time. It is always your year.
And then if
Quick-
we don't win, anybody but the U.S.
Yes,
So,
that's
quick
how it
yes-
goes.
Quick yes or no answer, starting with Michael. Does Shifley make Team Canada?
Oh, I'm gonna say no.
Okay.
I don't. The point got hurt. Maybe that opens the door, but
Good point.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna say as of now, I don't think so unless he goes on some crazy hot streak. I was gonna ask if you would had picking the team now, would you pick Dubois over Shifley? If you want to
Yes.
answer that too.
Yes.
But
Ooh, I think
but-
you
No
want to make
question.
it.
but go. You guys can answer all the questions here.
Well, I say no, Shifley doesn't make it. And if you're asking me right now, PLD over Shifley, and I think PLD actually has a legit
sure.
shot at making this team if he keeps it up.
I think PLD has a chance too.
Do you guys think
Right.
PLD is going to make it over Mangiapane and a couple of the
That's
other
the guy.
dark horse
That's the
picks?
other one.
Yeah, but Mangiapane's kind of a dark horse. Like we know he's good right now, but the question is whether or not he actually makes that team.
But to be fair, though, like Shifley was always going for either a fourth line position or an extra spot, so I can see at the very least PLD at least making a case for being an extra. Like because PLD,
for sure.
he's like top 10 in. I think he's top 10 in goals for it. Like even though it's only 10 goals, it's not like he hasn't had a bad start by any stretch of the means. And I see him definitely having. It's funny we talk about who from like the Winnipeg Jets are making Team Canada because if we're talking about Team USA. We've got
Loaded.
the
We're loaded.
starting goaltender set up, and we've
Or
got
hell,
Hunter. At
Who,
least at the very minimum.
What team are you most worried about at the Olympics? Starting with
Team
Michael
USA.
again. USA first.
Michael.
That's okay.
I think
Michael, go first.
probably USA, right? I haven't looked at all of them. Sweden's usually
Sweden's
Oh.
pretty good usually.
pretty good too. So
scared of the Team USA's goaltending.
That's what I'm scared of. Gibson and Hellebuck will be scary.
I'm not as scared at their offense. I think their defense has a lot of dark horse picks in there. Like you got Adam Fox, you got pretty much like a lot of guys that you can either look at who had like really one season, like last year were really good, or you can just look at guys who have been like constant, like even lesser names like Jacob Trouba, honestly, in there. Like there's just a lot of depth that you see in that from that Team USA. Like that's the only team that scares me, honestly. Russia doesn't scare me because Russia can't defend. Finland doesn't have enough depth, even though they are becoming a lot more like respectable as like a world country that like has a consistent like hockey program. Unless we're talking World Juniors, I don't think like where the talent really it's kind of more of a fish in a barrel type thing, or just kind of a random name out of a hat. I don't think they can squeak by with the team they have. And Sweden, while Sweden I definitely would say has potential, I think all of their spots are good, but I don't think there's any place where they really excel as a team.
It's fair.
I agree with that. I think that's really good, fair way of looking at it. Like if you asked me, I'd probably give the same description.
So who's starting in net for Team Canada?
That's an interesting question.
Yeah.
You know what? Screw it, Jordan Binnington.
I think Binnington at this point, yeah.
Unless Darcy Kemper really because it seems like the Avalanche.
He's trash.
The Avalanche had a terrible start.
Don't talk about Kemper. He's trash. He's junk.
Come on, Zach. Out of
He's
everyone
junk.
you're gonna pick Kemper, bro.
Kemper's junk.
I'm just saying he can. Like we've seen him carry lesser Arizona teams.
I think Zach's just saying, just don't close the door on him yet, just in case he.
That's
kicks
what I'm
it up.
saying. Because like even
I've closed the door and kicked him out.
Oh.
I'm not on that.
Ryan
spot.
has no hope for him.
Michael, who do you got?
There then after that.
Okay, this is an interesting one.
Carter Hart, Mason Blackwood, Carey Price, Darcy Kemper.
Probably let's not say.
I have one
Marc-Andre
other
Fleury.
wild card who's been very good so far to start this season. As someone who you might forget is Canadian, Tristan Jarry.
He can't play. He's not on the list of six.
Don't you dare.
No, they've already announced it. There's 6 goalies that can compete for it. That's it.
Oh, what? I did not hear that. Never mind.
They had to shortlist 50 players.
And also,
Yeah.
let's make it clear, to be a goaltender for Team Canada, you need to have 2 hands. Tristan Jarry only has a blocker. The man can't catch a puck. Like, I don't want to see Patrick Kane coming down and ripping goals top glove like all day because Tristan Jarry can't catch it when it counts.
And I don't know if
no.
I don't know if PLD's on that list of 50. I don't know if have you and Hustler or anything looked into that list? I haven't seen it, Michael, but I know there's a list of 50 or 60 players that they can choose from, and that's it.
Oh yeah, they have to release the list. I don't know if that's been publicly available, but yeah, they have to put out the preliminary 50. So it's kind of interesting to me. I remember in 2006 there was like a thing when picking the team. I mean, you had young guys like at the time Stahl and Crosby, and it was after the lockout shortened season. These guys were playing awesome. Now we didn't have a lockout last year. You had the the COVID issue season where everyone so I think coming back from that for some guys has been interesting. But you pick like some of these guys like a Mangiapane who probably wasn't on the radar, but now is among the leaders in goals, and he could be a player on your bottom group. So and again, Pierre-Luc Dubois probably wasn't on the radar before, but I mean, he's a big guy. He, plays center. Although they have a lot of centers, but he's fit, tough, physical. I mean, he could be a guy who's I think played himself in there too. So, do they go with the guys who've kind of been there before, or there were some young upstart picks? So I think that'll be interesting.
What was the year we didn't win it, Mike? Where we just played old dust guys.
Oh, that was 06, where they didn't take
Crosby.
They didn't take Crosby, Stahl, and Spezza, and those guys it was after the lockout, and those guys were like unreal. And it was like I think it was like Sakic at that. They kind of just went with a lot of the guys who were there in 2002.
That makes sense because they talk about 02.
Yeah.
They never talk about 06, and then they talk about like 2010.
Yeah,
no one ever mentions it, and then when you think about it, you're like, wait a minute.
06 didn't happen.
Apparently not to Hockey Canada.
Also,
it was a lockout for everybody, including the Olympics.
Yeah.
Nobody hosted it.
It was in Italy. It wasn't in North America like 2002
Italy
or
doesn't
2010.
even have winter. Doesn't count. Everybody knows this.
Also in 1998,
We
Wayne
have the
Gretzky
Elks,
was
bro.
not. Wayne Gretzky in 98 was not available for the shootout, according to
Yeah.
Hockey Canada.
Not
Yes.
available yet.
Not available.
That doesn't happen.
You don't put Gretzky in a shootout.
Gretzky can only score with defenders chasing him. That's a proven fact.
So my last serious question on the Olympics, though, this is it, and then we can take it home. Team China, how badly are they going to get blown up?
Well, it sounds like I think they're evaluating right now if they can even be eligible, and I know if they. So
I thought they said.
I
think
Michael. I thought they said they're in. I thought they said they were good.
Was it? It might have been today the deadline.
I thought I saw like 3 names that literally had like a default face next to it on the 3 guys who started their roster. Because like everybody announced like Ehlers made his team Denmark, for example, and like they had like the 3 players that automatically had spots, and then they put like Team China's up there. Don't remember the names, but it was just 3 people. They didn't even have a face photo. It was just like an EHL, like NHL, like EA Sports, like custom damn face, like blackface covered. So I think they're confirmed, but yeah, China's not. China's this is going to be very ugly.
It's going to be I saw a lot of their. I thought there was a date where they could pull out and bring in Norway.
They should have. What they should have done is they should have done what. Because at least when the Olympics were in north or south or wherever Korea it was in, what happened is Korea planned it, and also they got lucky that there were no NHLs coming. But Korea planned it because they said in advance, like a couple years in advance, they're like, okay, let's grab like 6 Canadians. So if you look at the roster for that Korean Olympic team, you'll notice that a couple names do really stand out on that roster because they brought them in from Canada to live there long enough to become actual citizens. So then they had like, I think a goalie and then maybe like 5 or 6 skaters that were Canadian, like born, but technically played as Korean. And China didn't do that. And they really should have done that minimum. For sure.
I would wager dollars to donuts, especially in Vancouver. There's enough Chinese-born dual citizens between Canada and the States that grew up playing hockey that can move over there to play. Because that's how Team Italy and that's funded, right? Like a lot of these small teams have Canadians and Americans who play junior A dub.
Play on Team Italy.
Yeah, and then they just get their grandpa's passport and they go do it.
Hey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
Chris Johnson said on Insider Trading today that the IIHF is going to meet Friday with the Chinese Ice Hockey Association to discuss whether the team is competitive enough. So
I would love to know how many rinks they have.
I looked at the roster.
Huge.
Yeah, what's the roster, Michael? I'd love to hear it.
I had seen it was a lot of familiar. I remember they had who they have? Spencer Fu was on there.
I know Spencer Fu.
I saw Zach Ewan, who was a former Jets draft pick, was on there. I think Brandon Yip was he on there. I'm trying to find it, but I actually knew a couple of the names on that list, but I can't find the list.
Well, I was just reading right here that if they do pull out, it'll be the first time in history of the Olympics that a host nation's team has been pulled out of an event because of performance issues. So, and China being the country they are, I highly doubt that they're going to want to be that first nation to have that happen. So, push comes to shove, I bet we'll be seeing them in the Olympics when it happens. That's just my take on it, though. Gut feeling I have.
Yeah, that makes sense, honestly.
Yeah, well, if they are, and it's going to go very badly. The game.
Let them roid it up like Russia. Let's see it happen. Just make them a bunch of roid monsters, and let's just drop the puck and see what happens.
Like, what's the over under on that? Like, I'm saying like
20?
At least 20 goals.
Honestly, I would put like 50 cents on China to win a game, just because I bet the payout would be like $1 million, especially against Canada or something like that if it ever happened.
Yeah, like, hey, maybe
crazy.
Maybe like the Swiss team, they'll have a goalie stand on their head and get shelled by NHL players, and they'll only win 2-0.
That always happens to the Swiss. It's weird that it always happens to the Swiss. The Swiss are always that team that like squeaks into either whether it's the World Juniors or the Olympics. They'll get one game where they're just like, how is Swiss winning this? Because of the goaltending.
That Swiss coach in the World Juniors is my favorite. Just his honesty.
Him. I wanted him to coach Seattle. What quotes this man? Yeah, we're not.
Yeah, we're gonna lose.
We're gonna lose. What?
We don't stand a chance
on this man.
Well, we're
Can't say ain't honest.
we're approaching the 1 hour 20-minute mark. This got away from, I think, me very quickly. This was a great conversation, Michael, and I know all four of us are immensely appreciative of you coming on tonight, giving us your time and chatting Jets hockey and Winnipeg sports with us. So we always like to give our guest a chance to just talk about anything to end the show. You know, anything you want to plug, any episodes coming out, any guest things, anything like that. If you want to shout out for the Winnipeg Sports Podcast or anything like that, you know, the floor is yours.
Yeah, sure. WinnipegSportsTalk.com has all the information. Just search Winnipeg Sports Talk on YouTube. We're live Monday to Friday at 1 p.m. And yeah, we've got talking about Jets, Bombers, and that's basically what we're doing. And thank you guys so much for having me. I do see all your thumbnails and watch a couple of your videos. So thanks for having me. It's great to see you. I don't want to say in person because we're on Discord.
Close enough.
But yes, close enough. So thank you very much for having me.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, and we'll have to do this again. Maybe we'll be able to get Hustler on. That'd be a pretty fun episode. So thank you all so much for watching this episode. We hope you enjoyed. Make sure to check out the Prairie Puck Podcast on Spotify as always, and also make sure to check out all of our individual channels. All of the links for everyone's social media channels and whatnot down in the description below. So make sure to go check them out. Follow us all on Twitter and whatnot. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Leave your questions, comments, thoughts, concerns down in the comment section below. As always, we really hope you enjoyed it. We really did, because we had a great time filming this. Have a great rest of your day. Go Jets go. Go Bombers go. And bye-bye.
For the W.